You just spent $20 million on your dream home. The closing documents are signed, the champagne is poured, the keys are in your hand, and 3 weeks later, you discover the roof is leaking into the master suite. The pool filtration system is completely broken, and the home theater equipment the seller promised? Already removed. Your attorney tells you, you should have caught that before closing. But here's the problem. You didn't. And now you're facing 6 figures in repairs on a home you thought was flawless. This isn't a rare horror story. It's becoming the norm in America's luxury real estate market. And in the next 12 minutes, we're going to walk through exactly why multi-million-dollar closings are turning into financial traps, and what's happening right now that almost no one is talking about. Because the system that's supposed to protect buyers, it's breaking down. Let's establish what's actually happening in the American luxury real estate market right now. In 2024 and into early 2025, the top tier of the housing market, homes priced above $5 million, entered a period of massive transition. Inventory spiked, days on market increased, and sellers, desperate to close deals before tax law changes and economic uncertainty deepened, started rushing transactions. Here's where it gets dangerous. When luxury homes sit on the market for months, sometimes over a year, maintenance gets deferred. Systems break down. Sellers remove valuable items that were assumed to be permanent fixtures. And by the time the deal finally closes, the property condition has deteriorated significantly from what the buyer saw during initial showings. But the real issue isn't just deferred maintenance. It's what happens in that 60-day window between the accepted offer and the closing date. Industry insiders are now calling this the gap, the period where miscommunication, incomplete disclosures, and last-minute changes create a legal minefield. And the most shocking part? Buyers are discovering these problems after closing, when their legal recourse is limited, expensive, and uncertain. Because in luxury real estate, the traditional buyer protections that exist for middle-class home purchases often don't apply. There are fewer inspections, less regulatory oversight, and a culture of gentlemen's agreements that leave multi-million-dollar transactions vulnerable to catastrophic disputes. Let's break down exactly what's happening in these failed closings. Number 1. The fixture dispute. You buy a $50 million estate in Aspen. The listing photos show a fully equipped chef's kitchen with a $15,000 Italian espresso machine built into the cabinetry. The wine cellar has a climate-controlled storage system worth $80,000. The primary suite features custom motorized blackout shades valued at $12,000. You assume these items are included. They're built in. They're part of the home. Closing day arrives. You move in. The espresso machine? Gone. The wine cellar system? Removed and replaced with basic shelving. The custom shades? Stripped out, standard blinds installed instead. Your realtor tells you, it wasn't specifically listed in the contract. This exact scenario played out in a recent high-profile case. The buyer sued. The seller claimed the items were personal property, and the legal battle dragged on for 18 months, costing both sides hundreds of thousands in legal fees. Number 2, the inspection waiver trap. In competitive luxury markets, buyers are waiving inspection contingencies to make their offers more attractive. But unlike standard homes, luxury estates have complex systems: geothermal heating, gray water recycling, integrated smart home networks, private elevators. When these systems fail after closing, buyers discover they have no recourse because they waived the inspection that would have caught the problem. One buyer in Miami purchased a waterfront mansion for $32 million. 3 months after closing, the seawall began collapsing. Repair estimate? $4 million. The inspection they waived would have caught the structural damage. Now they're facing a lawsuit against the seller, with uncertain odds of success. Number 3, the seller non-disclosure. Sellers are legally required to disclose known defects, but in luxury real estate, the definition of known becomes murky. A Connecticut estate sold for $18 million. 6 weeks after closing, the buyer discovered extensive mold behind the walls of the master wing. The seller claimed they had no knowledge, but the buyer's attorney found emails proving the seller had hired a mold remediation company 2 years prior and never disclosed the issue. The case settled out of court, but it took 3 years and cost the buyer over $1 million in legal fees and repairs. Number 4, the rush to close. With tax laws changing and economic uncertainty rising, sellers are pushing for faster closings. But speed creates risk. Buyers are skipping final walkthroughs. They're trusting that the property condition matches what they saw weeks or months earlier. And sellers are using that trust as an opportunity to make last-minute removals or ignore maintenance issues that develop during the closing period. One California buyer purchased a Malibu estate for $43 million. The final walkthrough was scheduled for the day of closing, an impossibility given the buyer's travel schedule. They skipped it. When they arrived 2 weeks later, the outdoor kitchen equipment was gone, the infinity pool heater was broken, and the landscaping was dead. The seller's response? That's what you get for not doing the walkthrough. Now let's look at what this means on a larger scale. According to recent industry data, post-closing disputes in luxury real estate have increased 47% since 2022. The average legal cost to resolve these disputes? $375,000. And the average time to resolution? 22 months. But here's what makes this particularly dangerous in 2025 and beyond. The luxury real estate market is experiencing a perfect storm of conditions that amplify these risks. First, we have an aging seller demographic. Baby boomers who purchased luxury estates decades ago are now selling, often after years of deferred maintenance. They're emotionally attached to the properties, financially motivated to close quickly, and sometimes unaware of the full scope of defects their homes have developed. Second, we have a new wave of buyers with less real estate experience. Tech entrepreneurs, cryptocurrency millionaires, remote workers cashing out stock options. Many are first-time luxury buyers who don't understand the complexities of high-end transactions. They're accustomed to consumer protections that simply don't exist at this price point. Third, the professionals involved, realtors, attorneys, inspectors, are often ill-equipped to handle the technical complexity of modern luxury homes. A $20 million smart home requires specialized inspection, but most inspectors are trained for middle-class suburban properties. The result? A systematic breakdown in buyer protection. And it's not just about financial loss, it's about the emotional toll of discovering your dream home is a nightmare, the stress of litigation, the public embarrassment of high-profile disputes, the damage to family wealth and retirement security. One buyer described it as the worst financial decision of my life, and I had no way to see it coming. So what does this mean for 2026 and beyond? The signals are clear. This problem is getting worse, not better. Estate tax law changes are creating urgency for wealthy sellers to liquidate properties. Interest rates, while stabilizing, have made luxury homes less liquid, and a generation of wealth transfer is happening, with heirs inheriting properties they don't want to maintain. All of this creates pressure for rushed sales and incomplete disclosures. We're also seeing a legal trend that should concern anyone considering a luxury purchase. Courts are increasingly siding with sellers in post-closing disputes, especially when buyers waived inspections or failed to include specific fixtures in the purchase contract. The message from the legal system is clear: buyer beware. You're responsible for your own due diligence. But here's the paradox. Even with perfect due diligence, buyers can't protect themselves from intentional non-disclosure or last-minute seller actions. And the professionals who are supposed to bridge this gap, real estate attorneys, buyer's agents, are often incentivized to close deals, not prevent them. One real estate attorney put it bluntly: "My client wants to close. The seller wants to close. If I raise too many concerns, I'm the obstacle. So unless there's a glaring issue, the pressure is to move forward." This creates an environment where problems are minimized, risks are downplayed, and buyers are left vulnerable. We're likely to see more regulation in this space, more mandatory disclosures, more specialized inspection requirements, but that's years away. And in the meantime, buyers are operating in a system designed for an era when luxury transactions were handled through personal relationships and trust. That era is over. Here's what we know. The American luxury real estate market has entered a period of structural vulnerability. The systems that once protected buyers, personal relationships, professional integrity, clear legal standards, have been eroded by market pressure, complexity, and misaligned incentives. Buyers are discovering problems after closing. Sellers are avoiding accountability, and the legal system offers little recourse for those caught in the gap. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. If you're considering a luxury property purchase,
understand that you're operating in an environment where traditional protections may not apply, where even perfect due diligence can't prevent certain risks, and where the financial and emotional cost of a bad closing can exceed the purchase price itself. The question isn't whether these problems will continue. They will. The question is whether you understand the risks before you sign. Because in luxury real estate, closing day isn't the end of the transaction. It's often just the beginning of the real problems.